Good afternoon, everyone. I have the privilege today of introducing Chief Ed Cunningham and Detective Danny Wengel. Ed Cunningham has been our Chief of Police here since January of 2018. He worked for 23 years for the city of Pittsburgh before that, and has been a member of our club since 2019. Detective Wengel has been with the Elizabethtown Police Department since July of 2017. In his time with EPD, he has risen through the ranks, finally being appointed to the detective position in 2020. He's received numerous awards for his performance, including ones for bravery and life-saving. Thank you both for your service to our community. He was selected to be the handler of EPD's first comfort dog, which is one of the cutest puppies I've seen. In December of 22, we're going to learn a little bit about that today, so please welcome Chief Cunningham and Detective Wengel.
Thank you. Danny has to, I was going to go first, but Danny has to go to a hearing up at Judge Miller's office. So I'm going to let him go first, tell you a little bit about the Comfort Dog program, and then I'll follow up and talk about officer employee wellness.
Alright, so I don't do very well standing still and or talking on a microphone, so if it's okay with you guys, I'm probably just going to move around and just talk really loud because that's what I do. So, like they all said, I'm Detective Wengel with E-Town. Very recently, I was given the opportunity to now be a canine handler, which, as I'm sure you've probably heard this before from any possible police officer, that is the dream, right? So when I came to E-Town, we did not have a canine program, and I said, alright, well maybe we can look into one. So 2 years ago, we started looking into it. COVID happened, defunding the police happened, so that dream kind of went out the window. I became a detective, and my dream and my vision changed. So as of December, Chief came to me and said, hey look, we have the opportunity to get a canine, and I'm like, dream job, sold, doesn't matter, we'll figure it out. So the next day, literally I had 1 day notice on this, we showed up to Alpha Pat K9's meeting. They had a gracious donation from Miss, is it Karen Weatherby? I think
Yes.
it's Karen Weatherby out of Mountjoy. She's a reputable breeder. She breeds therapy dogs, service dogs, whether it's for the seeing eye, disability. She also, I think, has some of the like seizure alert dogs. So this bloodline is literally trained and bred for this type of job. So she donated an entire litter to Alpha Pat K9, who had this vision to bring in therapy trauma dogs to the police force. And of course, she's being very good today. She's not always like this. She's got plenty of energy when she wants to. Okay? So we went to this meeting the next day, and I'm literally coming home with this 9-week-old puppy who's full of energy and has no clue about anything else in the world other than her litter. So she is now living with us at my home. She comes to work with me every single day. She gets to see all of our guys. She plays with our secretary. I actually have a ball in my bag. She will chase the ball for hours on end without stop, whether she's throwing it down the stairs or just chasing around with people. But the goal is for ultimately showing wellness to officers. So in our job field, we end up going through all kinds of stress, whether it's from dealing with supervisors, dealing with the public, going through critical incidents. We kind of take on multiple different roles and hats because, let's face it, our job is kind of being a taxi driver, being a psychologist, being a therapist, being a police officer, enforcing and kind of handling and mitigating things that most people don't want to deal with, so they call 911 and we deal with it. So we kind of take on everybody else's stress and don't have the best outlets to deal with it ourselves. So the benefit of having Nala, after you have one of those moments where you get screened up for 45 minutes by somebody who makes absolutely zero sense, but you have to hear them out because that's our job, you get to come back and play with Nala. For those of you who can't see it or walk around, but she is a English cream golden retriever with big floppy ears. You really can't look at her and be mad. So you come back and you're like, all stressed. The other options at work are drink coffee, use nicotine, or eat and stress eat, or you can come play ball and pet her and it kind of makes things better. So right now she is 4 months old. At 6 months old, she's going to start her training. Come here. And she will actually start becoming an AKC registered dog, where she can then. Did you find? As you can see, we're still 4 months old and we're exploring everything. So she will be trained and registered through the AKC as well as the Americans with Disabilities Act as a therapy and trauma dog, where the end goal is to be able to work with victims of sexual abuse, physical abuse, juvenile victims. Part of my job is taking care of those investigations, and in doing so, we ask a lot of in-depth and uncomfortable questions. So we understand that that's not going to get any better. No matter what I do, I'm still going to have to ask the uncomfortable questions. I'm going to re-traumatize somebody that's gone through that type of incident, but at least bringing Nala in, I can make that a little bit less crappy and make them feel a little bit more comfortable when they're going through this traumatic event. And hopefully, we can get through that a little bit better without making things worse for somebody that's just gone through the worst thing in their entire life. But then again, that's going through. She's got a 6 month to 1 year program until she's actually certified and able to do that. But as for right now, she just gets to be our station dog. So she runs around and works with the guys, our secretaries. We'll probably be going out to community events, so I'm sure you'll see us. We were just at the Cops for Cops hockey game, as there's 3 other dogs in Lancaster County, because I believe the Lancaster City Police Department is getting one. And the other dog is actually with the Dauphin County Critical Incident Something Command Team. Basically, that dog works with the fire department, the police departments, as well as our EMS, because they have like that program set up in place. So he gets to work with his dog Oat. But all 4 dogs work together. We go through training once a month. And hopefully this is going to work out. We're still trying to figure it out. It's very new. But if you guys see us around, you got questions, feel free to ask. She loves being pet. This is the kind of dog that you can pet, so you're not going to be worried about getting bit. She's not trained for any kind of biting, attacking, police, patrolling. She's literally just here to be cuddly, cute, and you pet it, hopefully make people feel better. So thank you guys all for your time. If you have questions, feel free to ask. She will try to eat just about anything, including my walls. But she does not get people food. She does not get anything that is, for people or anything like that. The only food that she does get that is people food is carrots and cucumbers. But other than that, she just gets straight puppy food and diet. And apparently, occasionally, a chip that's on the floor.
I have a question. So it's probably too early in her career to know how long these dogs will be servicing their average lifetime service.
So the benefit of the trauma therapy dog, they're not in the same situations that a regular patrol or you have like a detection dog. Their jobs depend on their ability to perform, and obviously they have certain standards to do that. With a less stressful job, being a cute ball of fluff, that lifespan or that working period can be a little bit longer, but at this point it all depends on what she's capable of doing. So since she is bred for this, she has some of those genetics that are better apt for it. Hopefully she'll have a longer career, but without knowing and seeing how that goes medically, it's kind of a toss-up. But hopefully she has a nice long career.
And she'll be staying with you all the time?
For the most part, yes. So she comes home with me every day. I work in regular 5-day, Monday through Friday shift, depending on, I'm on call and that kind of stuff. But she's either at work or she's at home with us.
Generally, a service dog like this will work about 10 to 12 years in the police department. What you traditionally think of as a police dog will generally work 7 or 8 years on the street. But because of the difference, as Danny said, because of the difference in mission, she's not going to be chasing people, jumping, climbing, biting, rolling, getting punched and kicked and stuff like that. So she will have a much longer career as long as God blesses her with good health.
Try your penny.
There we go.
So thank you, Danny. My presentation, I'm going to be talking about I'm going to be talking about officer and employee wellness. And the big reason why I'm doing that presentation today for you guys is mostly a big thank you for the partnership with the Rotary. As you guys all know, one of my passions is taking care of people, working people, and making sure that we do everything in our power to bring a positive to the community. As Danny mentioned, one of the drawbacks of working in law enforcement is the fact that we see the worst of society, we see the worst of life all the time on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of times, we take that home with us. Last year, at the direction of Mayor Mummert, I really started working hard to try to find something to bring up the morale and just the general mood of our officers and the officers in the area, because we could see that the stress of the last few years and everything that was going on was really starting to have an effect in the squad room. So I found this program called the Cortico Wellness app, and working with, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, but working with President at the time, Dupler, we were able to find some support for bringing this program to the EPD. This program is available in the Apple or in the Apple App Store. It's also in the Samsung or the Google Play Store. There's no cost to access the app, and there are both public-facing and password-protected areas. One of the best parts about this, as opposed to any of the other wellness apps that are out there, is that Cortico only charges me for sworn officers, but they encourage me to share it with all of their family members as well, and our civilian employees, so that we can make sure that everyone who works with and around the police department has access to these resources. If you notice, if you saw, I made a post on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. It really is our families who are the reason that we can be so strong in the community. So having the ability to give this to our families and give these support systems to our families really helps us to make sure that the officers have a strong home life to then come in and be strong in the community. Again, in the public-facing area, there's no password. The entire community has access. There will be, at the very end, there's a QR code you can scan with your camera, or if you just search for Elizabethtown PD in the App Store, you'll be able to download this. There are multiple different pages available to the public. No data is collected from who uses this app. So other than just knowing how many different page clicks there are, no personally identifying information is collected. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, we're just gonna. Anyway, so in going through the app, I'll get this and we'll make a link to it. I'll put it up on the PD webpage so that you can go through this presentation and take a look at it.
You can send that to Dennis and he can put in the spoke.
Perfect.
And then you can click on it. That's okay, Dennis?
Yep, I'll do that. I'll put a link in the spoke. When you go into the public-facing app, the public-facing side of the app, you'll see there's the safety and crime prevention tips. That's one of the most important parts for this, the public-facing side, because in that portion, there are a number of safety tips, such as how to prevent having a burglary at your house, how to have safety at the ATM, how to prevent a robbery or fraud or things like that. So when the public sees that, you have the ability to go and see all of those different crime prevention and safety tips. What did you do that I didn't?
All right, keep rolling.
Okay, so as I was saying, there are a number of different safety and crime prevention tips. Each one takes you to a different page. ATM awareness, how to keep from getting robbed at the ATM, things like that. And the information that is in there is best practice. It's not legal advice, and my lawyer said that I have to say that, but it is telling you how to keep yourself safe in the community. Next slide. In the password protected area, that's where the meat of the app is, really taking care of our family and our officer wellness. The opening screen displays a very important reminder, and that's important for the officers, but it's important for all of us. If you don't make time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your illness. That was given to me, that was sent to me by a very good friend about 2 years ago when I was having a serious issue. And my mental health actually affected my physical health, and I was off work for a couple days, and one of my very close friends sent that to me. That hit me hard, and I thought that's a good reminder for all of us. If you don't make time for your wellness, then you'll have to make time for your illness. So, that's there. Again, thank you to Rotary, working with Deb Dupler and some community resources. We were able to find a sponsor who is sponsoring this for the police department. So it doesn't cost the department anything to offer this to our officers and their families. Next slide. Again, it's completely confidential, and this is important for those of you. I try to not be so bad, but if anybody knows a cop personally, you know that we're not very trusting people, and everything is a conspiracy theory with us. I'm bad at that. But no personally identifiable information is collected at all. There's one password, one username, and one password for the entire department for everyone who is given access to the password protected screen. So the only thing I can tell as the chief is how many times each page was accessed. I can't tell who's using what, who's going and using any of the information, because there's no way to actually access that information. Next one. This is the very important thing. Unfortunately, there is an absolute epidemic of suicide within law enforcement and within first responders. Every year, we lose about 3 times as many officers to suicide as we do to felonious assault. And that's just the reported suicides. That's not the ones that are listed as different kinds of causes of death. So I think that number might even be a little bit higher. But it's about 3 times as many. So the very first thing that's on top of that screen is you can click on Get Help Now. You click on Get Help Now, and it takes you to Copline and the 988 Suicide Crisis Hotline. Both of those are staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Copline is actually staffed by people who are trained first responders and who are trained to work with us and gain that rapport and get us the help that we need. Next slide. Then after that is just that there's a message from the chief, from me, explaining to the officers and their families why I brought this here and what we expect from using it. The next is the wellness toolkit. This is a really cool feature because it gives us access to 60 different behavioral health topics. And just like with the safety topics that we put out for the public, when you click on any one of those, it brings up another section that's loaded with information and resources that are developed by first responder psychologists. So it's either cops or firemen or medics who then got further training in psychology, psychiatry, and so it's really first responder specific information to help us take care of our mental health and our physical health. Next slide. Self-assessments, it gives us the opportunity to anonymously go through and see, do I have a problem? It was kind of funny when I was first testing this app to make sure that it worked and it was something that I wanted to bring. I gave my wife the adult ADD assessment. She went through, she answered the questions, and then she threw my phone back at me because she didn't like the answer that she got. But not surprisingly, with 32 years on the job, I took the PTSD assessment, and it came back with a very high score telling me, which then led me to click on this link, go get more information on how to help that. Next slide. This was the hardest work in putting this together, but this is the most valuable. It's the therapist finder. When you click on that page, it brings up the map showing well over 100 therapists and psychologists and psychological practices that are available in the area. If you notice up in the right-hand corner, there's the menu thing there, the hamburger they call it. You click on that and it switches it over to a list of all the therapists. When you click on any one of the individual therapists that are there, it then brings up their individual information, including their phone number, their email, their website, what kind of insurance they take, anything that you need to know about that specific therapist. So if you're looking for a problem, or if you're looking for help with adult ADD, you can go through and find a therapist who takes our insurance, who specifically works with adult ADD. Next one. We have our chaplains. The northwest corner of this county is lucky in the fact that we have a very strong chaplaincy program for our first responders. We have a number of chaplains who were already working with us, and the 4 departments up in this corner of the county just recently signed on to work with the Lancaster County Chaplain Corps, which brought us about 20 more chaplains who were available to us. The chaplains, their contact information is in there. The officers can click on that, get a little bio of the chaplain, and then be connected directly to that person if they want to do so. Obviously, the way I can pay for things is by putting it through the employee assistance program. So all of the information for the employee assistance program is listed in the app that goes through our health insurance. What we did, though, to stay with the anonymity and the confidentiality of the app, is I had the borough office create a generic username and password to the EAP system. So if you're going through the app, you can get in and check out the EAP resources without using our individual login. So that keeps the app from being able to collect any kind of information because you're using the generic username and password to get into the EAP. Dr. Gilmartin, I could do a complete full presentation on his stuff. He does emotional survival videos and books for law enforcement officers, first responders, and their families. He has an exclusive contract with Cortico. Cortico is the only place that publishes his information. And we have the ability to give them videos and articles that he writes to help take care of everything from PTSD, officer survival, emotional survival. One of the more important ones that I make sure everybody talks about is the being a survivor, understanding when we go through a critical incident, what can you expect in the next days, weeks, and months. That's an extremely important video that we have our officers watch. Excuse me. Next one. Some new features that were just added were the nutrition toolkit and weight loss challenge. It was moved out of the physical wellness and into its own area. They're actually running contests every few months to try to get officers to take better care of themselves physically, eat better, lose weight, get more physically fit. Which is very important, because if we're more physically fit, we're less likely to get injured on duty. Some of the other things though that go in there are physical therapists. If we have the videos from physical therapists to help us take care of the sore knees and the sore feet and the sore back and the things, the aches and pains that we take home with us. And then it kind of rounds out with relaxation and mindfulness, making sure that we take care of our spiritual and emotional health as well as the physical and mental health. And then there's the additional resources, which is just a bunch of financial resources, mental health, anything that you see anywhere else is also in this collection of links here. The COVID-19 stuff, unfortunately, is never going away, so there is a specific page in the app for dealing with COVID-19. And again, this is available to our spouses and our significant others, our families. We only pay for our number of sworn officers, and we are encouraged to share it with our families, our kids, our wives, our husbands, whatever, so that we can continue to have that strong support at home. And again, I thank the Rotary, next slide. I thank the Rotary for helping me find a donor to bring this to our department. Because if we have physically and mentally stronger officers, we can serve you better in the community. So please take a moment, scan the QR code. If you don't get it now, let me know. It'll be in the spoke. I'll get it to Dennis to put in the spoke.
I'll just let that there.
And make sure that you download this. One of the things that's on the public facing app is there is a link to get to our social media, so that brings you to our Facebook page, and there's also a link that takes you to our department website so that you can contact us that way also. Any questions about this? Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief.